Hello, and welcome back to my series. This is part four in trying to un-gatekeep wine and to see if I have what it takes to become a sommelier. Today, I am going to be doing a study with me or virtual body doubling session. So I'll be studying a little more about wine today. But first, I'm going to go to a cafe and get some snacks and coffee before I start my studying. All right, so I just got back to my desk. I've had my coffee, I've had my brunch, and I'm ready to get started. So I'm going to do the 50-10 method where I spend 50 minutes studying or reading or being productive, and then I will take a 10-minute break. It's currently 1:15 and the sun goes down around 4:15 today, so I'm trying to pack in at least 3 hours of studying. I find that when the sun goes down, I get a lot less productive. So let's try to spend these next 3 hours wisely. Okay, I've made it to my first break. I actually went over the 50 minutes. I am the type of person that once I start something, I usually can't put it down until the thought or the project is finished. So I went a little over on this first study sprint to really finish out my wine aroma wheel. So this is the wheel. It's just essentially a copy of the Wine Folly Aroma Wheel, and it is to help you while you are smelling a wine to identify some of the aromas. I'll read you some of the larger categories. It is split into primary, secondary, and tertiary and faults. Faults are an interesting one. They are the smells that you are supposed to pick up on if the wine is bad. So, something happened during the winemaking process, the corking process, the storage process, etc., that has led the wine to become bad. And then the primary, secondary, and tertiary, I don't know the full details, but I think has something to do with how it ages. But the primaries are the ones that you're supposed to pick up on first. Some of the categories for the primary smells are flower, citrus, tree fruit, tropical fruit, red fruit, black fruit, dried fruit, noble rot, spice, vegetable, and earth. The secondary smell is microbial, and then the tertiary are going to be general aging and oak aging. Some of the fault categories are volatile acidity, cooked, Brettanomyces, or Brett for short, sulfides and mercaptans, and TCA or corked. I think that some of the fault smells are really interesting. So you might pick up on horse manure, cat pee, band-aid is an interesting one. Some of the categories are really interesting, like flower has potpourri under it, marmalade is in citrus, bubblegum is one of the tropical fruits. I think that's one of the tropical fruits that not many people get to try, like potentially a durian. They also put olive under black fruit, which I think was an interesting choice. They also have fruitcake under dried fruit, but then they also have dried fruit under general aging. For spices, I thought this is an interesting one. They have a smell that's just called Asian spice, and Asia is a very broad category, so I don't know whether it means like Szechuan peppercorn um, or curry or something like allspice or cumin or any of the other varieties of Asian spices that are out there in the world. This will go along with me now as I study. The other chart that I've created is the blind tasting guide from the How to Read a Wine Label book, and it talks you through some of the sight that you should pick up on clarity and color, some of the nose. You can go from the intensity, flowers, fruits, herbs, spices, earth, and oak, and then you can describe a little bit more about the palate and structure on a range for acid, tannin, body, and sweetness. And then you're supposed to create conclusions on the varietal, country, and vintage, even indicating if it's New World or Old World. And then, of course, my favorite part, did you like this wine? So, really just helping me to start with some foundational tools that I can carry around as I go to try more wines. But I'm going to use the rest of this break time to clear off my desk here and begin my next study session. I want to read a little bit and then I want to take some notes and hopefully the next sprint. Okay, so I've just completed my second long stretch or sprint of studying where I was just reading my book and it went a little over just so I could finish the content in the section that I was in. So far today, I have done just under 3 hours of studying. I might read a little more after this. I also want to do sort of an activity based on the concepts that I just studied about. So essentially, what I was reading about was how to actually read the wine label. So the beginning of the book really just built on foundational concepts like Old World versus New World, appellations, the domains, what could you expect, the winemaker, the type of grape, the alcohol percentage, just basic things that you would need to know to break down the wine label and therefore determine things about its taste or potentially its quality. I covered off on the Americas portion, talking about California, Oregon, Washington, Virginia, New York, etc. I also just finished the section on France, being a very, very diverse region from the Loire Valley, Champagne, the Rhone Valley, Provence, Burgundy, Bordeaux, etc. So each of those displayed a couple wine labels and broke it down line by line what we should expect. So now that I am in my break, I thought maybe I could use a couple minutes to try some decoding of wine labels by myself. I grabbed two wines from my wine fridge so that I could put a little bit of my studying into practice. So let's start with wine number one. I love ASMR. Okay, so this is a Amity Vineyards wine, 2023 Willamette Valley White Pinot Noir. So Amity Vineyards, this just tells us who the winemaker or producer is. We can maybe look a little more about Amity Vineyards, maybe some of the wine growing, producing, making process that they have. Maybe they have a particular way of raising the grapes. Maybe the soil is different, how they harvest is different, store the wines is different. I would do a little research on that. I really like the textiles or the patterns here. I think it's really nice. It says 2023, so this is the vintage or potentially the year that the wine itself was made. And then we get the Willamette Valley. So the Willamette Valley is going to be up in Oregon. It is a very unique place. So the Willamette Valley is right under here. It contains Portland, and just south of it, we have the Pacific Ocean on the west, and then this Cascades Range or the mountain range on the right. So it has a very interesting climate there. And then the most unique part of this and why I bought the wine was white Pinot Noir. So a Pinot Noir is a red grape. It has really thin skins. So my guess is that for a white Pinot Noir, this is more really like a rosé, where they will have removed the skins almost completely so that the red did not soak into the actual wine when the wine was being made. Again, an oversimplification of the process, but that's what I gathered from this. Knowing that this is a New World wine, I can think of this as this sort of green tomato concept. So the green tomato indicating cooler climates, light-bodied. They're going to be tart and fruit forward or maybe fresh and zippy. So potentially expecting higher acid, maybe a light body. I think it would be smooth. There would probably be no tannins at all because the skin is removed. Let's check a little bit on the back. We're getting pear, orange blossom, and linen notes. And then we're also seeing 12% alcohol. So this is a 12% alcohol. And again, we're thinking of this as a red wine category. So this is on the lower range of a red wine. So what we're going to be expecting here is a very light wine. It could actually have the chances of being sweet, which makes sense for pear and orange blossom. If I were to consider this a white wine, we may be expecting this to also be sweet. I honestly don't know what I'll think of this wine because I'm not typically a person that likes sweet wines, but I am interested in trying it. I'm not going to try it today though. So my research for myself after this is to look up more about Amity vineyards. All right, let's look at a second wine to, again, put some of my studying into practice. The first line that we have here is Domaine Wachau or Domaine Wachau. Please tell me how to actually pronounce this. This is going to refer to the domain or house that makes the wine or the actual producer. So I would probably want to learn a little more about Wachau and maybe some of their practices. They even have the domain or chateau on the front here, and it is established in 1714. This wine is made in Wachau, Austria. We're getting specific about the place name. Typically, if we get to the house or even the specific region of the place where the wine is, we can potentially expect a little more of a designation and quality, especially since we see it's since 1714. They are an established winery. Then we're getting the grape varietal, a Grüner Veltliner, and this is a white wine. And then under this, we have Federspiel. And when in doubt, you can Google. Federspiel refers to several things, most commonly a style of Austrian Wachau wine, which is light, elegant, and up to 12.5% ABV. We also see Terrassen. Now, I'm going to guess that this is the German or Austrian word for terroir, but I'm going to look that up in a second. Other things that it's saying for Federspiel is that it's going to be feather light with depth, and the origin of the name is feather play, bait used to lure falcons home. So let's look at Terrassen. Okay, so I was wrong. So terrassen does not mean terroir. It is the German word for terraces. This would mean that it's grown on terraced vineyards, giving them a specific minerality. Let's move on to the back of the label. Grüner Veltliner Federspiel Terrassen 2024. So again, we're getting the vintage here. It's a young wine. I'm seeing certain tags here that it's certified sustainable in Austria. It's vegan. The back of this wine says the Wachau Valley is one of the leading wine regions of the world. Steeply terraced vineyards in a unique climate and primary rock defines the wines. Federspiel stands for the medium-bodied, elegantly balanced wines of the Wachau. Grüner Veltliner is known for its discreetly spicy aroma. So if I were to open this, I might smell spices or maybe some of that minerality coming from the terraces. It also does say dry quality white wine, so it's not going to be a sweet wine. So what can we expect from this wine without opening it? We can expect it to be a dry wine. It's not going to be sweet. With the terraces and terrassen, make an assumption that this is going to be more mineral, more earth, maybe a little more citrus on the palate than maybe say a Riesling would be a sweet Riesling. So I think I will like this wine. Okay, so I think I've had enough studying for today. I feel very productive in terms of what I was able to accomplish today in terms of my aroma wheel and getting to read a little bit more of my book and put some of the study into practice with my wines here. So I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and stay tuned for more study with me's and other videos.